Recently, I took a couple weeks off of creating content for YouTube, and this is what I experienced and realized along the way. And there's one habit I decided to keep. So I've been creating content on YouTube for a while. It's not, except for in the last couple of years when I started to take it a little more seriously. But I realized in the last 6 months or so that I'm really not getting the results I want. So I decided to do something different. I decided to take a step back, pause, reflect, and this is what I experienced and realized. I experienced my first bear in the wild. I boondocked out in the Badlands. I drove through the San Juan Mountains and experienced a part of Colorado I hadn't seen yet and want to go back for more. I realized while I do need to connect to the online world, I found one habit that might be good. Okay, so this one habit is pretty cool. What I did is, basically I couldn't get online that well. So I had to go into town or go to a certain place to get signal and access. And so what ended up happening is I basically figured out all the things that I needed to do for that one time that I was in town. And I just did that. And then I went back. So I basically synthesized all the things I needed to do. And I wasn't wasting time online watching endless videos on this and that. It ended up so I wasn't watching so many of these videos where I got so fearful of everything that's going on in the world and basically shrinking down and going, man, this sucks, you know? And so then what happened is my energy was much better. I was much better off because although it's good to know about certain things, it's not good to perseverate on that. And that's exactly what I was doing. When I had access to, being online 24/7, all the time I wanted, then I ended up watching video after video after video, being well informed about this or that and the other thing. The thing of it is, it's almost like figuring that you know what's going to go on in the world by watching just a few videos, which is totally ridiculous. Of course, you're not knowing what's going to happen. You can only speculate, and you can only have so much information at hand. But there's so many things you don't know, so many dynamics. And so I found it very freeing because I wasn't perseverating on all these fearful aspects. And I got so many other things done. Like I said, I rode a lot, I hiked, and explored different areas that I wouldn't have otherwise. One question I kept asking myself over and over again is, like, what things do I actually have control over? And what is really basically beyond my control? And there's so many things that I really don't have control over that I was watching news about and trying to figure out and understand. And once I realized, okay, well, I don't really have control over that, so I let that go. And it was very freeing because I realized how much I was getting caught up in fear, unnecessary fear, which again, I have no control over a lot of these aspects, a lot of these things that are going on. And I can only prepare so much. I also realized there's tons and tons of videos and people and podcasts and books and so on of people giving advice of what to do next or what to do in general. And that includes myself, creating all these videos. And so instead of giving any sort of advice in any of my videos, instead it's just going back to, here's what I'm doing, here's what's working for me, and if it works for you, great. But there's so many different things, so many different ways. Everybody wants to change the world. It's just realizing everybody's on their own journey and all of it is worthwhile. For me, what I see doing is having a crucible of learning where I go forth and just do imperfect action and have some ideas, have a target to look for, but also being open to the magic of the universe and nature and God and everything else. It's also going for inefficient ways of living. In fact, we look at going faster and doing things, more efficiently, and all of it seems to get us to where we want to go faster, but we're actually nowhere, in a way. The inefficient part is just doing things that may take longer, just because. And there's certain amount of wisdom and experience that comes from that, where you don't have to take the straight and narrow path. You don't have to take the efficient path. Like doing stuff online, doing stuff with video. It's like you got to sweat out. You got to put in the reps. You got to put in the hours that it takes to get comfortable with creating videos, with understanding what works. And it's the same with anything. And we have all these shortcuts and go faster and all that kind of stuff. So I really like the idea of inefficient living in a way. I mean, if you think about it, we're all part of nature, right? And so it's going forth with that in mind and really trying to do the heart-brain coherence a bit more and looking at intuition and going from that aspect of things rather than staying all in the head and trying to think of it from that aspect, but rather taking information from nature itself as you're in it, and from that, discovering a way forward rather than thinking you have it all figured out in your head, because there's so much more going on. There's so many more dynamics at play each and every day even. So it's in that sense that I'm opening up to that a bit more and hoping to create content with that in mind and looking at solutions a little more dynamically. And really my goal is to figure out ways to free as many people as possible. The ideal is to free as many people as possible from their work dynamics so that they can create forward a future that we all want. And doing that means being able to free up time. I mean, the 40-hour work week is insane if you think about all the time that's needed to really just understand what we're doing here on the planet, what's gonna happen next, and so on and so forth. So really being able to take time for that on an individual basis so that it drives the collective basis as well. And I feel like the more people have a chance, not to say to escape from work, but to take a chunk of their time to really contemplate and really figure out what they're actually doing and what we're doing as a collective as well. So that's my goal going forward, is to take a crucible of learning so that you can basically, I feel like video is the way forward. And so I figured out ways to kind of burn through the fear of video and sharing that along with very tried and true paths to getting paid right away to create. So you can learn and create at the same time. And I have a Crucible of Learning. There's a link for that down below in the description. And so it's before I was just going to look at the aspect of creating video without fear, but I realized that there was so much more that was needed in that, because you might create video, but you're going to lose your motivation. But what if you could get paid to create and learn along the way? And that's where the Crucible comes from. And it's a very tried and true method that, I've used, others have used. It stood the test of time and all the different things that are happening. And the real benefit is it actually can help against censorship and allow you to, pivot as needed along the way, despite any control mechanisms that might happen from above. So I'm pretty excited about it, and I'm developing moving forward on an incremental basis. Check that out in the description if you're interested. Found myself gravitating more towards books again, because it's there that you get more focused attention. You have to be more focused in your efforts with a book than with, like, say, a podcast, or a lot of times with a video. And so I've been spending a lot more time there and finding a lot more benefit from that. And last, I think that while technology is going to help us in a lot of different ways, I feel like there's a huge gravitation towards basic methods of living and combining the two in really creative ways. And I'm really excited about that, because we really do need to get back to basics in a lot of different ways, but at the same time not throw out the technological advances that we've been able to obtain. And it's grounding ourselves in that basic living, in tune with nature a bit more, while also having technology that allows us to be connected on a much wider level, and really just share information and so on in ways that we haven't in the past. The internet itself has been a great way to free a lot of people and to continue to do so, while at the same time kind of grounding in some of the basics of living. And I see that as a real strong way forward. This is where a lot of people are going with, purchasing land and building communities and healing people on a regular basis. And if that's something that's of interest to you, there's also a link in the description for that. Really excited about that part, and I'm steadily growing in that direction. But there's a lot to go with that. But I love the community that's there, and I see where everybody has the same intention and really helping each other along the way. There's definitely a community aspect there that I'm really excited about. So in all, the time off that I've spent away from YouTube has been hugely beneficial, but I've got some great ideas going forward, and I'm looking forward to sharing them with you. So if any of what I've talked about interests you, be sure to subscribe. If it helped you, give it a like. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you next time.